So I didn't realize how many episodes of the show there actually were. I kept seeing episode 17 came out, episode 15 came out, and I was only seeing like 6 or 7 episodes. Realized on the CW site where I'm watching all of this, there's a view more. So I need to pick up the pace here. So I think instead of doing 2 videos per video per this, I'm going to try to do 3 or 4. That being said, I just sat down and watched episodes 5 and 6 last night, and then I watched episode 7 today. And after watching episode 7, I feel like I can just breeze through episodes 5 and 6 because they were kind of just like getting us to where we were supposed to be. So just a few quick observations on those. Thrilled that Georgia's mom is becoming a regular character. She's in a lot of these. I totally gasped out loud with excitement and cheered when Bess texted Lisbeth back. And then the whole supernatural thing. That was what I kept getting hung up on. And so I did some investigation. I read some interviews with the showrunner, with the creators of the show, and they made it very clear that this is not the Nancy Drew universe from the books. They're, using the same characters, the same names, and I think I knew this. I just needed to actually read it to wrap my brain around it. But this is clearly a universe where the supernatural exists. And so I am kind of taking that in stride. And once I've accepted that for myself, I find that I'm enjoying the show more. But it's kind of interesting because I feel like I'm going along a similar journey with Nancy because she's starting to wrap her brain around the fact that she is being haunted by dead Lucy, that the supernatural does exist, whereas the first few episodes, she was talking about how she doesn't believe in ghosts. So I think in that sense, it was kind of a good, I don't know, like a way to bring in the audience and make them feel like kind of an everyman as Nancy goes through this, or rather, I guess, making Nancy the everyman. So that was good. Still really like Ace. George is becoming the comic relief in episode 5 when she asked what's in this dried poop. I laughed out loud. Same when they thought that, or when she was possessed and Nancy kept staring at her. She turned and said, if you keep staring at me like that, you're going to have to buy me dinner. Seriously laughed out loud. So I'm really liking the approach there. Then honestly, I think that's kind of it for episode 5. I know sort of a lot happened in there, but I didn't feel like it contributed enough to the overarching story to spend a lot of time there. So then in episode 6, kind of the same thing. This was the one where they went to the Velvet Mask. I'm trying to see, is that a reference to one of the books? I haven't had a chance to look into that yet. But figuring out who, maybe that Lucy found out information about, who's sleeping with whom and why that could have been what led to her being killed. There was a lot of what ifs thrown out in that episode. So I feel like that one really just served to complicate the plot line. Which is good, I think, especially realizing that this is a much longer show than I had thought it was. It's not like a 10 episode and quit it. If they're on episode 17 right now, then this is kind of a good lead in. It keeps you with it for that long. So again, not a ton there. I was making false predictions throughout the entire thing. I thought Ryan killed her. I thought that Ryan didn't kill her, but we're going to feel sorry for him because he's just completely incompetent and a victim of his own circumstance. And, the will they, won't they. But then I think moving into episode 7, I just really feel better about a lot of what's going on. I usually only give a show about 3 or 4 episodes before I quit it if I don't get really invested right away. And because this was Nancy Drew, I gave it more than that. I'm glad that I did because episode 7, I was riveted. And it stunk because I had to stop halfway through for a meeting and then go back to the end of it. But that seance was great. I did really like the lead up for that. And the scene when Nancy and Nick were in the files from the newspaper and they dropped the coins and they had all those hands reaching out. And Nancy had to rush to grab the coin away from the hands, but then that translated over to the seance, and I'm in it. I think I needed to read those articles to get me there, but now it is getting good. So, I audibly gasped when Ace was in the car accident that Nick came upon, and he pointed out that it was Ace. I did not see that coming. I thought that he needed to be careful because he was getting in the car with Laura, who they now suspect could have killed her sister. But I absolutely did not see that coming at all. I loved the moment when they were doing the seance and Nancy opened up the coin box and Bess screamed. I thought that was cute. It was a fun little fake out scare, jump scare. So let me look at my notes again here. I was a little resentful when they made me question Laura, but I think if it ends up being her who done it, I think that's a good way to do it. You endear them endear the audience to the character first. So I do appreciate that. With Nick and Nancy, honestly, I hate the will they won't they stuff because I'm not much for romance, but I do like the direction it's heading where he's realizing that he maybe doesn't have a place in her life. My hope for things would be, okay, maybe we have a few episodes where Nick is distant or he's doing his own thing. Maybe he's not in the episodes, but then he comes back, they forgive each other. And I feel like they were hinting at George and Nick becoming a thing, which I feel like would be a good pairing, seeing as they've both had, kind of rougher lives. They've dealt with stuff that Nancy's privileged background hasn't necessarily dealt with, and they've got more of an understanding of each other. So when George had coffee ready for Nick when he came in and knew exactly how he liked it, I thought that was a cute little back and forth there that I hope they build more into. So that was great. Also, when they were doing the seance, I'm sorry, I keep going back to the seance. I think that's the scene that really sold me on this. So I'm gonna fixate there a little bit. Why did they use all the coins at once? There were 12 of them, and then they all melted. Clearly, when they were in the archives of the newspaper, one coin rolled away out of the box, and still all of those hands were coming together. So it seems just a little zeitgeisty that they had to use all 12 coins for one seance, especially the fact that they were talking about how strong the connection is during the full moon, and they only wanted Lucy to be able to come through, and they had something that she had touched the night that she died. So one seems like it would have been plenty. They at least could have tried it with one, and then if that didn't work, add 2, add 3. And I get it that they didn't know they were going to melt, but if you're trying to taper the strength of what you're trying to do, why start out with everything? You don't get behind a car and immediately floor the gas. That's not how you do things. So that seemed a little strange to me. And I guess I could chalk that up to just teenage impulsiveness, because they did clarify that Nancy is 18. So again, there's that. I don't know how I feel about Chief McGinnis. I guess it makes sense that he and Nancy have sort of a resentful relationship with each other because they're always getting in each other's way. And I like that they are going to be forced to work together, but I'm really hoping that this relationship doesn't become kind of poking at each other, arguing, sniping every time that they have to come together and work. But it makes sense that they would work together. Clearly, they've had to work together on stuff in the past. So I like that they set it up as being in both of their best interests for this case to be solved. Now, that being said, it seems like the FBI is moving in kind of fast. So I'm not sure if I've still got 10 more episodes of this. I think 11 after the season finale. How fast are they going to have to work? Or are they going to drag out the FBI part of that a lot longer? So I'll be interested to see how they do that. The dragon, I thought that was a really cute little piece that they brought into the seance. So Lucy'd been communicating through technology. The eyes glow green for yes, and the mouth glows red for no. I want more of George's family, I think, just as a whole. So Ted, her younger sister, kind of being in the background, and I thought it was cute when she asked for 5 things, and oh great, now she's spoiled. But then when she was playing with the dragon, a child with possibly an absentee mother, her oldest sister who acts as more as the mother is gone all the time. Her other siblings we haven't really seen before, so she's kind of left to her own devices. So just cherishing that sort of connection that she could have with anything that will pay attention to her. And so for that to be a demon, I think is a really interesting story device that I'm excited to see what they do with that. I'm thinking kind of a Ginny from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets type thing. So maybe I'll lean that direction. That'll be interesting to see. Let's see here. What else did I write down? So that's mostly towards the end of episode 7. I did take notes on the first half. I know they're making us hate Carson Drew. I know I'm being manipulated here. I hate him so much. I think I'm going to have a really hard time if he is redeemed, because at this point I am just going to continue to hate him. I didn't like him from literally the first moment he was on the screen, and I'm not sure if that's the way I was supposed to feel or not, but I cannot fathom a situation where I'm going to find him endearing. If something goes well with him, I think I'm going to feel, fine, I get it, resentful of whatever happens there. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it out early here. Go watch episode 8, 9, 10 and pop back with those. But I am excited to plow through the rest of this series. So I don't have another tagline. I kind of like the Toodaloo Nancy Drew. So I might stick with that one. So I'll talk to you guys later. Toodaloo Nancy Drew.